Hey guys, it's XY, and today I'll be talking about battle strategy in D&D. Now, battle strategy, it's a double-edged sword. Obviously, there's the side of players' battle strategy, but there's also DM battle strategy. And of course, this means using the correct artillery and the correct archers combined with brutes and magic users to make a truly formidable foe out of what seems like a weak enemy. I'd say the best example for this is a kobold, because while they're not the weakest enemy, they're probably the most commonly encountered weak enemy, at least in early levels. This is useful because kobolds, it's easy to convince someone that kobolds could wield a bow, or wield a sword and a shield, or wield magic, which is a trait that might seem a little less common, magic-wise at least, in something like an ogre. Another thing is kobolds can have wings, which is very helpful if you want to have an aerial defense. Of course, there is the sort of unspoken rule that winged kobolds really don't like to associate with regular kobolds, or at least the other way around, because the other kobolds would feel jealous of their wings, seeing them as a blessing from the dragon god Tiamat. However, if you basically just overcome this rule with any scenario, like they were forced to work together and they don't really want to work together, or really anything, and even if you don't, usually players will just accept it because it's awesome. You can really make some good battle scenarios out of these simple monsters. And that's awesome, because you could throw an ogre at them and challenge them for a second, but if you throw a truly formidable formation at them, it's much harder. A traditional formation to go with if you want to have hard enemies out of weak enemies would be brutes in the front with shields and swords, then archers behind them, magic user somewhere around the very back, and a controller who's basically just there to control the tide of the battle and the battlefield. And if you mix this with environment, basically like saying things like they flip over a table and start shooting behind that, that's really helpful, because the thing is, you can make the best battle strategy ever, and you can make the best formation, like I just said, and make it even better, but the real question is, what do they do once the player breaks up that formation? And that's why you have to account in what's around you, the surrounding area. For example, if a brute is taken down so an archer has no defenses, because of the brute's natural defense and high AC, that you can easily go with something of they run over to a table and flip it over and go behind it and start shooting with their crossbow or longbow or whatever. Or they go behind a pillar and come out, take two shots, and then come back down. You can't see them anymore, but you know they're there. It's very easy to convince that this is going to happen because kobolds, they're not smart, but they're not dumb either. They definitely have a battle strategy, and if you say they're controlled by some other being, not necessarily even mind control, just in general controlled, then you can have a lot of fun with this kind of stuff. But player battle strategies is where it gets very interesting, because players have much more of a wide variety to choose from. While kobolds would have to be limited, usually in most case scenarios, to this one has a bow, but no sword and shield, this one has a sword and shield, but no bow. With a player, they can have a crossbow and a sword and a shield, and they can use magic, and they can have a mandolin, and they can have all of these different things to make them able to be versatile in combat. And considering the stats, strength, and everything else, I'm too lazy to list everything, it can really be interesting to try and station everyone. And gear can even be taken into account in this. One player who's first seen as squishy, and there's another tank, the player who's squishy could end up with amazing scale mail or something, or adamantine armor or something that's really powerful, while the tank ends up just with nothing. And the squishy is the tank now, and the person who was originally the tank is now the damage dealer or the smarts or something. Because there's always a place for the player, and even if that place is also what someone else does but better, there's always something they're good at. And it's really interesting to try and make battle strategies as a player, because a lot of the time, you're facing powerful threats. And it's a lot easier to beat these threats when you have teamwork, and not just teamwork makes the dream work, but a plan. Especially if you have a player who's really into war games or planning, they can really make a good battle strategy and really utilize everyone well. Just don't let them control you. So, yeah, battle strategy.